Okay, good evening, welcome ladies and gentlemen again on Monday the 21st of September 2020 at 6 p.m. and for those thanks for attending this virtual hybrid meeting of the Planning Committee. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Councillor Caleb Tomlinson. I'm the chair of this committee. Councillor Mal Donoghue is the vice chair. Also present with me are our officers and some members of the committee. This is an audio and video meeting. It's being recorded and the stream will also be live on YouTube. The web address for this is displayed on the agenda for the meeting and can be found on the Council's website. If you have joined the meeting because you're a member of the public who has registered to speak, please note you have a time limit of up to 4 minutes. Please unmute your mic when I invite you to speak. The Deputy Monitoring Officer will operate a stopwatch and I will confirm when your time runs out. You should then finish, or if in the middle of making a point, wind up within a few seconds. After each report has been presented and any speakers have made their representations, I will bring the application into committee. If any committee members wish to speak on an application, you should unmute your mic or use the chat function in the top right-hand corner to notify our moderator that you wish to speak. I will then invite you in order. Our Deputy Monitoring Officer Dave will repeat the motion before the vote is taken to ensure everyone is aware of what is being voted on. I'll call each member alphabetically to vote and Dave will confirm the outcome of the decision. If the technology fails, then I will adjourn the meeting for several minutes to try and resolve the issue, or if this isn't possible, a new date and time will be organised. So please can I ask all members to confirm they can see, hear and speak before the meeting begins. I will call your names alphabetically. Councillor Will Adams.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Mal Donoghue.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor James Flannery.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor John Hesketh.
Yes, President, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Cliff Hughes. Yeah. Councillor Keith Martin.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Christine Melia.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Caroline Moon.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor David Shaw.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Phil Smith.
Yes, Chair.
And Councillor Barry Yates.
Yes, Chair.
Thanks for that. Okay, on to our officers. Jonathan.
Yes, Chair.
Dave Whelan.
Yes, Chair.
Catherine Lewis.
Yes, Chair.
Debbie Roberts.
Yes, Chair.
And Charlotte Lynch.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, I'll now open the meeting. Do we have apologies for absence?
Yes, Chair. Receive an apology from Councillor Murray Green.
Okay, thanks for that. Do we have any declarations of interest?
Mr. Chair,
Councillor Hesketh. Yes, Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you. Just that there's a local farmer, a Woodfall farmer, playing this evening, but no relation of mine. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thanks for that. Okay, Jonathan, do we have appeal decisions?
I just want to report this evening, Chair, which relates to a site at 72 Marsh Lane, Longton. This related to a refusal for planning permission for the erection of agricultural building for housing livestock, storage of livestock feed and small agricultural tools. We've recently received a decision from Planning Inspectorate and the appeal was allowed. The inspector felt that the description of the proposal clearly fitted in the agricultural building category and therefore would fall within the exceptions list in policy G1 of the South Ribble local plan and paragraph 145 of the National Planning Policy Framework. Furthermore, the council did get costs awarded against us for this, and basically it came down to that interpretation, and the refusal relied on need when policy doesn't mention the requirement for need. It's actually listed in the exceptions already. Nothing else to report, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Jonathan. Okay, agenda item number 5, land between Lime Road and the Causey, Penwitham. If Janice would like to read the report, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this application site fronts onto the newly opened stretch of the Causey and Loster Call. It forms part of the wider development of the allocated Site K, the former Loster Call Gasworks, which is to the north and east. To the west is an area of development land known as Penwith and Mills, with residential properties to the southwest on Eagleton Way, Pinewood Road and Condor Road. So this is a view of the site looking southwards towards the causey. And this is another view of the site. At present, the site is being used as a material storage compound. So the application proposes 12 detached dwellings with access off Lime Road. This shows the proposed layout. The internal road layout is not to an adoptable standard and will therefore have to remain private, but County Highways have no objection to this. This is an example of a house type. This is the Oxford house type. All the house types are those used on the wider development of Site K. So just as to give it some context, these are properties on the opposite side of Lime Road. So you can see that they're similar style and design. Immediately adjacent to the site are plots 146 and 147 of the wider development. The rear elevations will face the side elevation of plot 5. Initially, a pair of semi-detached dwellings were proposed to this plot, but they failed to meet the spatial separation distances normally required. The replacement with a single detached dwelling with attached garage now meets the required separation distances. Letters of objection have been received from the neighbouring residents in terms of overlooking, loss of privacy, and they understood that the site was to be for community leisure use as a local centre with car parking to their rear. The match of the site's intended use for a local centre is fully reported in the committee report. This is an excerpt from the master plan showing retail and leisure uses. These uses were also indicated on both the outline and reserved matters submissions. However, the time limit for submission of a reserved matters for the local centre has now expired. The submitted retail report to support this application concludes that there is no demand for such uses, particularly given the amount of retail provision in the area, both existing and Lidl's proposals for the Penwith and Mills site opposite. The retail report has been considered by consultant advisors for the council, who do not consider that there are sufficient grounds to restrict additional residential development at the site, and that residents at the former Loster Coal Gasworks site and surrounding area would still have sufficient choice with the existing defined centres in the area. Therefore, the application is recommended for approval, subject to a Section 106 agreement for off-site public open space provision. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice. We do have a registered speaker on this item. Do we have Mr. Ted Clayton with us? He's not on the meeting. Okay, apparently he's not joined. Do we have the applicant or the applicant's agent, Graham Love?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, if you'd like to present, I'll give you 4 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Chair and Councillors. Paragraph 1.7 of your report says that there are no real grounds to warrant refusal of this planning application. This is because, firstly, there is no requirement in the housing allocation, policy D1 of the local plan, to provide a local centre at the former gasworks site. Secondly, there is no reserved matters approval for a local centre to be taken into account, and as you heard, none can be made as the outline permission has expired. Thirdly, your office has commissioned independent advice on the application, which confirms that there is adequate retail and leisure provision within the local area to meet needs and which can be accessed by walking and cycling. And fourthly, there is a need for housing. Your officers have considered whether other material considerations exist which are strong enough to justify a departure from policy, and their conclusion is that they do not. In conclusion, this application must be assessed on its merits. There is no conflict with the local plan, and there are no material considerations which justify a decision other than in accordance with the local plan. The presumption in favour of sustainable development therefore requires that planning permission should be granted. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Mr. Wolf. Right, I will open up to committee. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. It's regard with the adoption of the highways. I'm a bit disappointed that the highways haven't originally been built, or that the access roads haven't been built to an adoptable standard, and I sort of really do hope that this development does have them to an adoptable standard, because it takes an age to get them adopted. And what happens is if I'm correct, that there's certain protections that they're not allowed, for instance, fly tipping and things like that, unless it's an agreement between, because it's down to the person, buyer beware, I think is the term. If the road's not adopted, then we can't, I think the local authority can't act as a local authority with some of the bylaws that we have. So I'm sure I'll be corrected on that. But if it's, I think highways should always be built to an adoptable standard, because, I mean, what's the point? Otherwise, you're getting substandard roads.
Janice, would you like to comment on that or not?
County Highways haven't really said why it's not to an adopted standard, just that it's for certain plots they won't consider adopting it, but I'm sure we could go back and ask them the reasons why, but they just didn't say in the letter just that it wasn't to an adoptable standard.
Right, Dave Whelan.
Yes, Chair. I mean, obviously, generally speaking, it's preferable if something is adoptable. I think what Councillor Martin is saying is correct. If something is not adoptable, then it's the frontages who are responsible for its maintenance. But the fact that a road is adoptable is not a reason to refuse the application.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Councillor Phil Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. With regard to the possible adoptable standard for the highway, it's not only the highway that goes with it, from what I can gather. I know I had a particular problem in one area that I represented. It's actually what's below the highway as well, and sometimes it's the drainage and the lighting and all the various other things that go along with it. Anyway, that wasn't really what I was going to say, but I have a slight problem with it, I have to say, with regard to the community area or the shops or whatever it might be, the leisure area. And I mean, it goes on to sort of page 17 and it's 9.19, and there's some strong reasons going down from that why there should be this community area, shops or whatever it might be. And going back to the 4.11, no development of a local centre on the site shall be commenced until the link road has been completed and is open to traffic. Well, it's only just been completed. It's a matter of months or 2 months or whatever it is, not the 3 years that was allowed in the first place. Certainly, I would question whether perhaps that piece of land has been marketed for the purpose to complete that. I don't know whether it's been put on the open market and advertised. I don't know. And it's the next one down, 9.111. I'm picking and choosing here, but these facts all demonstrate that there was always an intention to provide a local centre on the application site. And you go on to 9.21. The provision of a local centre would create an amenity for all those existing residents, together with the future residents on wider Quay. Additionally, new residents and purchase of the dwellings on the wider side of Quay have purchased their properties in the knowledge that a centre would be proposed to the wider area. So I do have some problems with the recommendation. I can think of several good reasons with that, why this application should be turned down. it looks like a nice grassed area there, and perhaps some green wouldn't do any harm in that area, to be quite honest, although it is fairly close to central parks. So I'll just listen to the debate, Chair, and that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Smith. Would you like to come back on any of those points, Janice?
No, sorry, Chair, I was just seeing if I had a copy of the
That's
County
okay.
Highways response in the file, but no, I think it's quite explanatory in the committee report, the sort of history of it and how it evolved.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Barry Yates.
Right, thank you, Chair. I've got the same concern as Councillor Martin about the highway not being adopted. I'd be willing to move approval with this if we could put a condition in that the highways have to be brought up to an adoptable standard. If we don't do that, then we're going to have problems later on. Might even have problems getting our refuse collection down there as well. But if the legal side can say, yes, it could be all right to put a condition in, I'll move approval.
Dave Whelan.
As I said a while ago, Chair, the fact a road's not adoptable is not a reason for refusal, and I don't think we can impose a condition requiring that the road should be brought to adoptable standard. We do occasionally have these developments which make use of private roads. I understand why everyone would prefer an adoptable road. There are obvious reasons why we would, but I don't think you can justify a condition requiring it.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I concur with what has been said already. I think for me, there's frustration and disappointment. I think residents already in the area bought a property, and they've been not promised, but certainly there's been plans for a community space of some sort to go there. And I think, to be honest, this just reeks of a developer who knows the rules and knows how to get around the rules, that possibly never had ever the intention of having a community area, and all of a sudden there's quite a few detached dwellings that they're now putting forward. I think it kind of reeks of them looking after their own pocket rather than their own building communities, and I think that's what, for me, is very frustrating. I'm not sure from a legal point of view if we can turn them down because of that, but I just wanted to make clear that I'm very disappointed. We're supposed to be building communities, and it's not all just about building houses.
Thanks for that, Councillor Adams. Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Chair. Am I led to believe that it has permission for 13 properties at the moment? Is that correct?
Janice?
No, it's no permission on this parcel of land. They originally put in for 13, but they've amended the plans and during the course of consideration of it.
Right, well, thank you.
Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. Just 2 points from me. One, it is a bit disingenuous to have an area identified for leisure and then retail and leisure, and then further down the line, as Councillor Smith pointed out, for that not to be the case, because the people who have bought the houses, as Councillor Adams has said, would have expected that to be there. The second point about the adoption and unadoption, which Councillor Martin and Councillor Yates have referred to, it's quite a serious issue because we've already got precedent in Penwitham where we've got a development where a road wasn't adopted, and to this day we've got unresolved issues which have caused the residents no end of trouble. So I'm with Councillor Martin Yates's suggestion of a condition regarding the adoption. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Dave Whelan's just advised that we can't.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I mean, that was the advice I gave. I'm listening to the debate and I'm picking up that there's a certain unhappiness and concern about these proposals. It's if you are minded to refuse, if you wish to go down that road, I mean, obviously it's what we require in any case, but we would need specific reasons for refusal. In terms of imposition of conditions, I've already advised, I don't think you can impose a condition saying the road must be adopted, because we do have the developments which do make use of private roads. That does happen. Although, you know, I think we all would rather be dealing with adoptable roads for any number of reasons, but I don't think we can require it.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Councillor Cliff Hughes.
No, thank you, Chairman. I've been listening to this this debate, and it really, I was disappointed when they took out what they were going to put in and put houses in, because it's like the last ditch, and I don't think it will work all right on that side. So I'm quite with my colleague opposite. I'm fully opposed that we should not allow it to happen. Shouldn't allow them to happen.
Yeah, Dave.
Sorry, I don't know if this helps, Chair, but I was just speaking to Jonathan about the way forward, because obviously there's some considerable disquiet about the highway situation. One possibility is to defer the matter to see if we can look into the highway situation further, to have conversations with the applicant, have conversations with LCC Highways, so to understand why the roads are not adoptable, and to see if we can have further conversations with the applicant. It's only a suggestion. I'm just trying to find a way forward.
Okay, thanks for that, Dave. Councillor Barry Yates.
Thank you, Chair. As David said there, you can't just say it's got to be adopted, but you can say that it should be up to an adoptable standard. That's a different wording. It's like when we say on some planning applications we want the infrastructure in first. We can do that, but we can't tell the applicant that he has to have it adopted, because it's up to the Lancashire County Council to adopt it. But I'm sure we can say that it should be up to an adoptable standard, so we can be assured that our residents that are moving into them areas have a proper road to go on, proper footpaths, and everything can be adopted. Otherwise, in a few years' time, we'll just have potholes, uneven road surfaces, and we could have developers coming in and doing that all over South Ribble. So I'll say again, if we can put in for a condition just to say to adoptable standard, then I'm willing to move approval, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Yates. So I have Councillor Adams, then Councillor Martin.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just question for Dave, really. I mean, I probably know already know the answer. Have we got much legroom in terms of a decision regarding the retail and leisure area? Obviously, now that's expired. Have we got any room to make comment or policy on?
Well, I understand the disappointment that members feel, and naturally it was always the intention that this would be used for such purposes. If you were minded to refuse this, you'd have to have regard to material planning considerations. So you'd have to be looking at impact on residents, etc., those type of issues. Just the fact that, it's what's coming forward isn't what was originally envisaged of itself is not a reason to refuse. I mean, going back to what Councillor Yates was saying, I understand exactly the distinction he's making. I'm still somewhat nervous about a condition saying must be brought to adoptable standards. There may be reasons why the road in question can't be brought up to adoptable standards. I don't know the full details. That's why I think if that is a genuine issue for yourselves, it may be better to go down the deferment route, and we may be able to get more clarity for you, and we may be able to see what can and cannot be achieved on the site.
Councillor one moment, Councillor Martin. Councillor Adams.
Thank you. Just come. Yeah, thank you. I think I'd support that, and if we could also maybe continue negotiations regarding some kind of green in that area as well. Thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Given the talk about the adoptions, I mean, is from personal experience, it has been a problem when they're not adopted, when we get subsurface issues with regard to drainage and things like that. I mean, I take Friar Close to be an example of one, and I would like to move deferment with mine to talk about the adoption of the highways or an improvement of the highways to an adoptable standard, if that could be possible. But I do note the dates on here. It says the determination date was supposed to be the 3rd of the 8th. Is that an issue with doing that? Or?
Jonathan?
Thanks, Chair. I mean, I can understand the members' concerns about trying to shape a community and having like a local centre there. I think that's an important issue. Unfortunately, the way the original permission was granted, there's no mechanism whereby we can force a developer to build out the local centre in this location. So in the situation where they not deliver that, and you could end up with basically an empty piece of land and potential problems that are associated with just a bare patch of land. So unfortunately, we're not in a position where we can force that local centre to come forward, and that is disappointing. I can understand that from a local councillor perspective. As Dave said, that the suggestion of a deferral may work better, and then we can go away to look at that particular highways issue a bit further, and we can come back to committee with some further information on that point.
Okay, thanks for that, Jonathan. Just before any other committee members speak, I'd like to break with protocol, and Ted Clayton, the objector, has suddenly joined us. So if you'd like to make your presentation, Mr. Clayton, I'll give you 4 minutes, okay?
Thank you, Chair. I think I've joined the meeting a little too late to get the full report from the officer, so I am a bit at a loss. I was a little surprised about the retail centre. It seems a little early, and it also seems that without an attempt to market the site, it's hard to say that there is no demand for it. And it is early stages in the development. There's things to come forward like the Vernons, and if there's a retail centre on there, then the need for housing on this site is strengthened. But if there's no retail on the Vernons, or the Vernons doesn't come forward, then surely we could do with the retail. I mean, there was talk of the traffic, and without the retail, I think our consultant said there would be more need for the residents of the estate and the area to drive. So I'm just a little surprised that we can't stand firm on the retail for a little bit longer. I do seem to remember that at the last meeting it was said that we have a 10-year housing supply. So the idea of the 12 houses doesn't seem to carry a lot of weight. And although the retail report carries some weight, I think without an attempt to market the site to see whether there really is an interest in putting some kind of commercial on the site, it seems too early to abandon it. And that's basically all I was going to say, Chair. But as I say, I've missed most of the meeting. Technology's beaten me. So I think I'd better leave it at that, as I don't know what's been said previously. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Clayton. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to second Councillor Martin's proposal of deferment on the basis of the adoption on adoption issue, and there's reference to Friar Close is a really good example, because the legacy there is really problematic, and we just don't want to be able to go through that again, really. So I think I'm going to second the proposal of deferment. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. A reason for refusal, and whether it is a good reason for a refusal, I should be advised on that. But it seems to me that, first of all, it doesn't accord with the master plan, because there's a local centre on the master plan. Therefore, all planning applications should accord with the master plan itself, and that seems to me a good enough reason to refuse it if necessary. And it also says in here, and it is quite clear, although some of the other things in the report weren't, but it does say that no development of a local centre on the site shall be commenced until the link road has been completed and is open to traffic. It has only just been opened for traffic, and I think somewhere in the report, and I can't just see it now, it said something about 3 years, I think. So the planning application, I think, went in at 2015. So to me, whoever hasn't given it a fair chance, and I think what we'd like to know, what I would like to know, is what I said earlier on before Mr. Clayton reinforced it. Has it been marketed? I doubt very much it's been marketed at all, because that probably wasn't the outcome to start with. But to me, it does not accord with the master plan. I could go along with deferral if we can find that out, but otherwise, I would be tempted to go for refusal, but I'll wait and see.
Okay, Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'm very much of the view also that we should defer this to find out why exactly it isn't possible to adopt that highway. If it's because you need to knock down 4 of the houses to only have 8 to actually make it an adoptable standard, well, then the applicant has to live with that. But I think we need to know why it isn't.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Shaw. So we have had a proposal for deferment from Councillor Martin. We've had a seconder in James Flannery. Were you proposing refusal, Councillor Smith?
I will go along with deferment, providing we can look at the issue of the master plan and the application not fitting with the master plan. To me, it doesn't fit in. And all applications, the whole point of master planning is any applications that come in should accord with that master plan. And to me, it doesn't do that. And the cause has only just been open, so it looks like it's got a 3-year lifespan yet, if that's what it says in the report itself. Thank you.
Councillor Caroline Moon.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to support what Councillor Smith's saying. I'm happy to go with deferment as well, and I take the points on the adoption of the highway. But I personally feel the issue of not according to our master plan and the 3 years compared to the cause just opening bit is equally important. And I think especially in light of the fact that we've spent however many hours on Thursday evening debating the master plan and the importance of them, and been told by our Director of Planning, and rightly so, that how significant that opportunity is to shape a development site. Well, I'm sitting here now thinking, is it as significant as we're being told it is if a developer can then change something based on a set of years in a master plan? So I guess for me, Chair, I do want more feedback on that, and I also think probably outside of specific to this planning application, I think we need a conversation between our officers and our planning committee on what exactly we're putting in these master plans and what timescales are going in them, because I don't want to find myself in this position again where the goalposts are moving. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Moon. Well, I think I'm going to go to the vote on this one, and it's for deferment if nobody else has any proposals. No, can we go to the vote then? Councillor Will Adams?
For.
Councillor Mal Donoghue?
For.
Councillor James Flannery?
For.
Councillor John Hesketh?
For deferral.
Councillor Hughes? Councillor Keith Martin?
For, Chair.
Councillor Christine Melia?
For.
Councillor Caroline Moon?
For.
Councillor David Shaw?
For.
Councillor Phil Smith?
For.
Councillor Barry Yates?
For.
And I am also for deferment. Dave, can you confirm the outcome of the vote, please?
Yes, Chair, that's a unanimous decision for deferment for the reasons which have already been explained.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Dave. Right, Agenda item number 6, land south of 89 Langdale Road. It's Janice again. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you, Chair. So this application relates to the site on Langdale Road to the south of number 89. Opposite are residential properties on Langdale Road and the access to Bleasdale Close and Wyresdale Close, which you can just see, that's Wyresdale. To the western boundary is an area of protected trees. To the east is the M6 motorway and the West Coast Main Line beyond. And to the south is a listed building, which is Atherton Hall, and Runshire College beyond. So this is a view of the site looking from Langdale Road southwards with the M6 along the eastern boundary. And this shows the existing protected woodland to the western boundary fronting onto Langdale Road. So the application is for the reserved matters of layout, scale, appearance and landscaping following outline permission for the erection of 14 dwellings and associated landscaping and infrastructure. So this shows the proposed site layout with an area of open space to the northern end. There. The protected woodland to the west, which is outside of the application site boundary. And then due to the proximity of the motorway, there's an earth bund proposed along here with an acoustic fence on top. This will also provide security for the motorway. Access is opposite Bleasdale Close, as I mentioned, and this was agreed at outline stage. So the top left photograph is the location of the development site access, and then the bottom right is the Bleasdale Close access, which is opposite. So a number of house types are proposed. All are substantial detached dwellings with accommodation in the roof space. As an example, this shows the Eccleston Plus house type. And this is the rear view of the proposed dwelling. You can see there's rear dormer and roof lights. Although these will be facing towards properties on Langdale Road, there's no overlooking or loss of privacy issues due to the intervening woodland and substantial separation distances. So properties on the opposite side of Langdale Road are a mix of house types. Many have been extended. The proposal is considered to be in keeping with the area, and the majority of the site will not be particularly visible in the street scene. So initially, Highways England had concerns regarding the motorway, particularly in terms of flood risk, tree protection and security, but these have been resolved through the submission of further details and reports and proposals for the fencing to extend along the full length of the boundary. This just shows the proposed fencing. So there's one outstanding objection from the LLFA, the Lead Local Flood Authority, who've been reconsulted on additional details and the amended drainage scheme and management and maintenance of that scheme, but have not yet responded. However, this can be dealt with through the discharge of conditions process with an application currently pending. At outline stage, a Section 106 agreement was entered into to provide an affordable housing contribution of £103,750 for off-site affordable housing. There was a clause included that a revised viability appraisal be submitted, with the wording in the Section 106 giving the Council 28 days to confirm whether it accepts the finding of the revised viability appraisal. However, there was no confirmation or agreement given or agreement to extend the period, and legal advice is that we've lost the ability to challenge the amount. However, though, the Council's advisors on matters of viability, Kepi Massey's updated view is that the development can support an affordable housing contribution, and this is an update to what's in the report because I've had a further report from them. So the affordable housing contribution of 104,208, which is only marginally greater sum than the value in the Section 106 agreement. So the application is recommended for approval, subject to the imposition of conditions, and recognising those conditions imposed on the outline approval remain relevant and will be addressed through the discharge of conditions process. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice. We don't have any registered speakers. We don't have any members not on committee wishing to speak. And we don't have the applicant or the agent, so I'm just going to bring it straight into committee. Councillor Moon.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, this application site falls within my ward, mine and Councillor Ogilvy's. It was just really to update committee to say that when this first came forward or was first discussed, Councillor Ogilvy and I received quite a lot of feedback from residents. There were a number of things raised, and I would say credit to the developer in that they listened and they took that away, and they've made a number of amendments to this scheme. Since this has come back now for reserve matters, I note there is one objection still on the documents before us, but we haven't had any representations from anybody within our ward. Nobody has come back to us and said that they're in any way unhappy with this. So on those grounds, Chair, the fact that there's no outstanding matters in the report that can't be dealt with through conditions, and there is nobody in the ward who has come to us to make representations, I will move approval of this application tonight, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Moon. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Again, it's a concern that developers are foisting unnecessary burdens on residents. I mean, if the drainage is going through residents' properties, my personal experience of that is that the resident would be liable for any repairs to that property, and depending on which way the flow would go would depend on who could be ultimately responsible for the whole thing. So I just want, I doubt we'll be able to change that, or it's a reason for refusal. But again, it's, as I just like to point out that is again developers are foisting possible future expense onto future residents. So I don't know if anyone's had any comment about that before.
Anything, Janice?
No, I've not had any comments along those lines. I note that the LLFA have responded to the discharge of conditions application. At the moment, they're unable to discharge condition 3, which is the surface water drainage, but they have given the reason why. I don't know if this helps. So just say there's a lack of detail. But this is just talking about a trash screen replaced. It's in the culvert outlet, which is to do with the pond that's within the woodland, and they're worried because it's going to get blocked with leaves and silt and debris and branches such like. So they just want further clarification on that. But they have confirmed they're able to discharge condition 5, which is the sustainable drainage management, surface water management and maintenance plan. So they're happy with what's been proposed, and there have been quite a large number of amendments and additional plans and things all to do with the drainage submitted. So it's got quite sort of complicated, but the final plans, we're on the final sort of part of it now, so they're more or less happy. A lot of the issues were to do with Highways England and worries about drainage onto the motorway and such like. So what's been submitted now has resolved, apart from that one issue, all the matters that have been raised. Don't know if that helps.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Martin?
I mean, it was just a point.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Yates?
Right, thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I can't see my agenda because I'm on the computer. So, just a question: has the air quality report been done? And if so, what is the air quality for that area? Is it being very close to the motorway?
Janice? While we're waiting, Councillor Hesketh, would you like to come in? You're muted, Councillor Hesketh, you're muted. Councillor Hesketh, you're muted. Your microphone's muted.
Have we not got contact, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, we can hear you now, Councillor Hesketh.
Right. There have been many amendments on this particular site, Mr. Chairman, and the design and so forth looks acceptable, and I will go along with approval, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hesketh. So you're seconding Caroline Moon's approval. Thank you. Councillor Flannery, while waiting.
Yeah, just a quick one. I think it's always important to recognise and respect the ward councillor's view on this, and Councillor Moon's assessment seemed very positive, and I was going to also second it. So, yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Thanks
for that, Councillor Flannery. Have we got the ACMA report yet?
So in at 9.5.4, I'm referring to the noise assessment by Miller Goodall Acoustics and Air Quality dated 7th of April 2020. I was just actually seeing, because this application's got a little confused, because there were certain conditions that required discharging as part of the reserve matters, and others that would be discharged through the normal discharge of conditions. So there was nothing on the discharge of conditions application that's currently pending. So let me just pull out the sorry, I'm just referring to the environmental health comments on the discharge of conditions, but there's nothing relating to air quality in that. No, environmental health haven't referred to anything to do with air quality.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice. Councillor Yates.
Right, thank you, Chairman. Over the years, when we've looked at buildings going up very close to the motorway, we've always called for an air quality report. I won't be happy going with approval unless we have an air quality report in front of us. As you know, Chair, on the Brindle Road site, with the houses being as close as these are, we had to make sure that, well, some of the houses was built with no ventilation on the front. The windows wouldn't be able to open or anything. And we had to move some of the houses out of the way because of poor air quality. For me to say, I'd like to approve it and go along with it, I wouldn't be able to do that without hand on heart, without saying to people that are moving into them houses that the air quality is all right and your family and children will be safe to live there. So on that, I would ask the proposer if she'd go along with deferment on that until we get an air quality report in.
Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor Yates. I actually lived on Langdale Road. My children played in my back garden, and I can assure you there is absolutely no air quality problem there, none whatsoever. But certainly, Councillor Moon, would you like to come back in on that?
Yeah, I would, Chair, because I've sat through the Brindle Road, obviously the applications and appeals, and I think we should on planning all understand air quality, and it was just to say that the reason why air quality doesn't come up on this site as a problem, Councillor Yates, is because it borders the motorway, and I think all the scientific information that came from the Brindle Road applications was that you've got far more difficulty with air quality in a residential built up residential area where traffic's idling than you're ever going to have bordering the M6. So for me, I don't feel we need to defer this application for a further report. If the majority of the committee do, then I'm not going to lose sleep over that. But I think we know this from previous experience and from previous sites, and I think the environmental health obviously understand this, that air quality, while I would have thought it would have been an issue alongside a motorway, the fact that the traffic is passing and passing at speed actually keeps your air quality in a much healthier position than, for example, in the centre of Lostock Hall when it's sitting waiting. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Moon. I'd like to bring in Jonathan, please.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, it's probably worth just stressing that this is a reserved matters application before us. So there was an outline application previously for this, and air quality will have been considered at that point when you're looking at establishing the principle of housing on this site. Air quality will have been looked at with the original outline. I've just been trying to find back the records from the outline application on that, but they're not coming up on my laptop at the moment. But it will have been considered as the outline says, and the principle of residential in this location is established already.
Okay, thanks for that, Jonathan. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to say, I do understand, and I did have the concern about things like noise and air quality alongside the motorway. And as Councillor Moon has said, moving traffic does have less of an impact. But I would also point out that all those houses are backing onto a great big area of woodland, and we're spending a lot of money putting up trees all over the borough to mitigate air quality and carbon emissions. So I'm guessing that they're in a pretty good position up against the woods.
Thanks, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Yates.
Right, thank you, Chair. It's a problem there getting back in. But they used to say that asbestos was all right. You could chew it, you could smoke it, you could do what you wanted with it. But people are dying all over now. We've had to report in, and I do know that Councillor Moon says that she thinks it's healthy around there. I'll bow to your expertise, but I am not happy without a report telling me that my residents are safe from fumes. Now, if you're all right to go along with that in Leyland, you go along with it. I'm voting against it. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Yates. Jonathan, would you like to come back in again?
Yeah, just to confirm, Chair, that the original outline application back in 2018, there was an air quality assessment submitted with that application. I've got the document in front of me here, and that was assessed by our environmental health colleagues and found to be fine.
And was it found acceptable, Jonathan?
Yes, it was, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Yates, did you hear that?
Yeah, I'm very happy now that we've got that information in. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Jonathan.
Are you still refusing?
Will I? Yeah. No, you can go through now. As long as the air quality is all right, I'm quite happy.
Councillor Smith.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Are the officers completely happy with the LFA, the flooding authority? We don't seem to have anything from them. I've very rarely seen an application come to council with as much information with regard to flooding, and there's quite a lot here. If we're happy with it, that's fine. Are we happy with the conditions? Is there a condition on there, or detail of a condition on there? I know we're waiting for a report to come through, but I just can't quickly see anything about the surface water flooding. Janice?
Yeah, the conditions were part of the outline approval, and they'll be dealt with through the discharge of conditions process.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Janice. Councillor Moon, did you want to come back in?
Chair, it was only to say that we've given it outline planning permission. I feel like we've gone back in time, but thankfully we've moved forward again and we're back to reserved matters, so I'm quite happy, Chair.
I'm glad to hear it. Okay, well, you have proposed approval. It has been seconded by Councillor Hesketh. If we don't have any more proposals, we'll go to the vote. We'll start with Councillor Adams.
4, Chair.
Councillor Mal Donoghue.
4.
Councillor James Flannery. 4. Councillor John Hesketh.
4.
Councillor Cliff Hughes. Okay. Oh dear. Councillor Keith Martin.
I'm for that, Chair.
Councillor Christine Melia.
4, Chair.
Councillor Caroline Moon.
4.
Councillor David Shaw.
4.
Councillor Phil Smith. 4. Councillor Barry Yates.
Definitely 4, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Yates. I'm also in favour. Dave, could you confirm the vote, please?
Yes, Chair. That's a unanimous vote in favour of the grant of planning permission.
Okay, so that's approved. Thanks for that, everyone. Who's at the front door? Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 7. Land at Oldfield and Long Meadow Oldfield, Much Hool. And Debbie Roberts, please.
Thank you, Chair. Let me get back to it. Okay, the site in question is a narrow strip of land running north to south to the west of Oldfield and Longmeadow in Much Hool. To the west are residential properties, and in the south the same. To the east there is open land that's to be used for a temporary site compound, and to the north on this boundary is there is the Knoll Lane roundabout. On the northern boundary is the Knoll Lane access, which was approved for construction access. In July 2020, committee approved 14 bungalows with, as I say, the construction access from this Knoll Lane field gate only. Okay, just to set the context, this is the proposed access from Liverpool Old Road and Malfield. Longmeadow is on the left as you get to the end of here, and Oldfield is on the right, and the site in question is in front of you. So facing north, we've got Longmeadow, which is a cul-de-sac. The site's on the right here, and just about where this white house is the Knoll Lane access. And the same access view from the Knoll Lane roundabout. Okay, the proposal, before I start, there is the Knoll Lane access, and this is the proposed amendment. Proposal is to vary condition 21, which requires all construction access to come from Knoll Lane only. It was suggested by the applicant and it was approved by LCC Highways in July. The applicant wants to vary the condition now to allow secondary access for construction traffic through Malfield, through this access into the rear field between plots 8 and 9. It would allow access into a temporary site compound, which would be located in the adjacent field, and planning permission isn't needed for that, so it wasn't shown on original drawings. It also became apparent to the developer that by using Knoll Lane access, it would prevent plot 1 being constructed until the others are finished. So it's got an impact on the logical build sequence and also financial implications to the developer. In favour, Malfield itself is an adopted highway. It can accommodate construction traffic, and LCC have no objections on highway safety or capacity grounds. But highways don't consider highways amenity, and officers consider that the noise, traffic, general disruption of using Marlfield for construction traffic will be detrimental to the to residents. The applicant's statement also says that they would use Marlfield access as and when the need arises, which officers feel is too open to interpretation. We've got 11 objections, one that arrived yesterday. In general, the comments are the same as in the report, but many of the objections refer to the approved build. We've got 4 that object to using the Knoll Lane access, which isn't relevant because it's already approved. And we've got an objection to the contractors arriving early. That's already been brought to the attention of the developer, and he's dealing with that with his own contractors. On balance, we would recommend refusal, that on the grounds that the increased noise, activity and general disturbance would be detrimental to the living conditions and residential amenity of neighbours. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much for that report, Debbie. Okay, we have no registered speakers. We have no members not on committee, and we don't have the applicant or the agent. So I'm going to open it up straight to committee. Councillor Smith first, then Councillor Flannery, then Councillor Adams.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just going to go straight for it. Could I move refusal, please, on the with regard to that on the reason the officer have stated? Thank you.
You certainly may. Councillor Flannery.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I remember this one, and the residents at the time spoke very passionately about the impact this was going to have on their life and their experience of this development. So I'm going to second Councillor Smith's recommendation of refusal straight away, in line with Debbie's report. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was just going to agree with the first 2 points wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. It's the same reasons, really. I mean, when you talk about 34-ton trucks trundling up down that little road, it is quite people think it might be adoptable, but it is quite a narrow road, and it's the main access to the little village there. So it would be disingenuous to then change it again. I mean, if the developer hadn't seen that, I worry about the development in total.
Thanks, Councillor Martin. Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Chair. I objected to this application way back in July for the simple reason that they wanted access through Marlfield to go to land beyond, and I could see at that particular time that this was going to cause trouble. So I still object, Mr. Chairman. The development it only needs to rejig its sequence, and I'm sure that they can get through to that development without going through Marlfield, and I recommend that they go from Knoll Lane access, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I object.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Hesketh. Do we have any other members on committee wishing to speak, or are we going to the vote? Okay, we'll go straight to the vote. The vote is for refusal. Councillor Adams.
4.
Councillor Donoghue.
4.
Councillor Flannery. 4. Councillor Hesketh.
No, refusal.
Councillor Hughes. Councillor Martin.
Vote for refusal, Chair.
Councillor Christine Melia.
For refusal, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Caroline Moon.
4.
Councillor Shaw.
4.
Councillor Phil Smith. 4. Councillor Barry Yates. 4. And I am also for refusal. Dave, what is the outcome of that vote, please?
Yes, again, Chair, that was unanimous vote in favour of refusing the application to vary the condition in question.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for that. Okay, agenda item number 8, land to the rear of Fosdale Moss. Debbie Roberts again.
Thank you, Chair. We've got a hectare site to the rear of 60 to 64 Fosdale Moss. Permission was granted at appeal for 6 properties, and they're well under construction. The access as well has been implemented. The applicant wants to vary condition 2, which that confirms that development must accord to approved plans. There are 2 small changes, both which allow development to avoid a sewer easement area. United Utilities always include a caveat that pipes may not be where they're plotted on maps, and during excavation it became apparent this wasn't the case. Sorry, this was the case. The 2 changes are to relocate plot 5 by 2 metres southwest. This is the approved scheme. There's a slightly different house type. This has already been varied, but to relocate this property 2 metres southwest, and to change the house type on plot 6. It's an identical house type to plot 5, but it just allows to, you can't really see it. I'll show it on the next slide. In fact, you can't see it at all on there. There is a sewer that runs through the middle. Slightly better. The red line shows the sewer easement, and the green line shows where the approved dwellings would encroach into that easement. I'm really sorry, it's clear as a bell on my screen, but you just can't see it on there. We've got 1 letter of representation, but comments relate to potential for work in adjacent land outside of the red edge, so they're not relevant to this proposal. And we would recommend approval of the variation of conditions as per the report. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Debbie. Right, we've no registered speakers. We have no members not on committee wanting to speak, and the applicant or agent isn't here, so I will open it up to committee, please. Councillor Smith?
Again, Chair, I mean, the report is fairly clear, so I'll move approval. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Councillor Moon?
Yeah, Chair, I think we've had lots of issues with this, and when I saw it I thought, oh, here we go again. I've got to be honest, I thought, here we go again. But listening to it, seeing the report, I'll second that we accept this. I think it's common sense.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Moon. Councillor Martin?
I'd go with a consensus there, Chair. I mean, it's not the developer's fault that the sewers are where they were. They do shift, or they don't shift themselves. But the plans, technology changes as GPS changes. So they may have been in the right place when they first drew the map, but when they checked it again, they weren't. So I'd go for approval as well, Chair.
Okay. Do we have any other proposals? Okay, we'll go to the vote then. So this is for approval. Councillor Adams?
4, Chair.
Councillor Donoghue?
4.
Councillor Flannery?
4.
Councillor Hesketh?
4.
Councillor Hughes? 4. Councillor Martin?
4, Chair.
Councillor Amelia?
4.
Councillor Moon?
4.
Councillor Shaw?
4.
Councillor Smith?
4.
Councillor Yates? 4. And I am also for it. Dave, will you confirm the outcome of that vote, please?
Yes, again, Chair, that's unanimous vote for approval to vary the conditions in question.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's get on to our agenda item number 9. Woodfold Farm, Grange Lane, Hutton. And this is not Catherine. It isn't Linda Ashcroft, it's Catherine. Over to you, Catherine, for this one.
Thank you, Chair. Linda's on leave today, so I'm doing the presentation for her. The application has been brought before the Planning Committee as both the agent and applicant are related to a member of staff. The application seeks planning permission to provide a roof over an existing muck midden at Woodfield Farm in Hutton, which is located in the Green Belt. And just to talk through the first slide of the presentation, this is Grange Lane in Hutton. This is the application site here, the existing muck midden. And here's the Briars, which is the residential property most affected that doesn't form part of the farm complex. The next 2 slides just demonstrate the location of the farmhouse together with the muck midden, which is here. So you can just see it on that one, and then it's a little bit closer on this one. And then the next slides just give you an indication of the existing muck midden that's going to be roofed over. And then this slide shows a little bit more about the details. So the roof would have a ridge height of 5.9 metres and will be constructed from a fibre cement roof sheet supported on steel stanchions. The existing concrete blocks, which are located here, will remain with Yorkshire vertical timber boarding at this area here. The roof will provide protection for the contents of the midden, whilst also providing a means of collecting clean surface water and disposing of it efficiently through the downpipes into the farm drains. There's been no representations received from any neighbours, and the proposal accords with the relevant planning policies and is recommended for approval, subject to the imposition of conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Catherine. I don't have any registered speakers. I don't have any members not on committee. Is the applicant or the agent Luke Banks with us? Anybody like to speak? Luke Banks, could you unmute your microphone? Luke Banks, are you with us? If so, would you like to unmute your microphone? Okay, I take it he isn't with us. So I'm going to open this up to committee straight away. Councillor Will Adams.
Thanks, Chair. I think this is fairly straightforward. I think I will go with the officer's recommendation for approval with the conditions. Thank you.
Is somebody on the PlayStation? Okay, so I've had a proposal for approval by Councillor Adams. Councillor Flannery?
Thanks, Chair. Being from... hang on.
Councillor Flannery?
Thanks, Chair. Just a point of clarification for Catherine, please. Being from one of the country's great cities, I'm not used to the term, what is it, muck midden? Could you just clarify, please, Catherine?
Thank you, Chair. It's a roof over an area of land where muck is stored from cattle.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Flannery?
I'll second Councillor Adams' proposal. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Hesketh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't want to cause a stink about this particular application, but these types of developments are forced upon agriculture at the moment, Mr. Chairman, due to environmental reasons, and I support it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Hesketh. Councillor Martin.
It's just a comment, Chair. No, I'll try not to be it's the wrong end of the day for that. So it's just a comment, really, because they're on about the rainwater being discharged straight into the farm drains. I would have thought it might have been an opportunity to use that water for other purposes rather than just let it go down the drain. It's just a comment.
Catherine, have you got any comment to make? Yes, Councillor Hesketh, just bear with us. Bear with us.
No comment, Chair, but maybe Councillor Hesketh might have something with experience.
Thanks, Catherine. Councillor Hesketh, would you like to come in?
These types of things are a type of lagoon, Mr. Chairman, which sort of collects the remains or the deposits, should we say, of cattle. And it's contained in that particular type of thing, and then it's spread onto the field with manure spreaders and so forth at the right time of year. So it's just a collection point, Mr. Chairman, and as I say, it's covered. They wish to cover it for the simple reason that if it isn't covered, it collects a lot of rainwater and makes a lot more manure to remove, Mr. Chairman. So that's the reason for them. Thank you.
Thanks for educating us, Councillor Hesketh. Right, I've had a proposer for approval, a seconder for approval. Do we have any other proposals? No? Okay, let's go to the vote then. Councillor Adams?
4.
Councillor Donoghue?
4.
Councillor Flannery?
4.
Councillor Hesketh?
4.
Councillor Hughes? Councillor Martin?
I'll give this one a pat on the back, Chair.
Councillor Christine Melia?
4.
Councillor Moon?
4.
Councillor David Shaw?
4.
Councillor Smith?
4.
Councillor Yates?
4.
And I am also 4. So Dave, could you instruct us on the outcome of that vote?
Yes, Chair, that was unanimous vote in favour of the erection of a roof over existing muck, midden and livestock area.
Okay, item number 10 on tonight's agenda is Hurst Grange Park, Hill Road, Penwitham. And again, this isn't Linda Ashcroft, this is Catherine Lewis. Okay, Catherine?
Thank you, Chair. The application relates to the playground area of Hurst Grange Park, which is located in Penwitham, and proposes the installation of a tower climbing frame with an overall maximum height of 7 metres. Hurst Grange Park is one of the 3 principal parks in the borough and has been awarded the prestigious Green Flag status in 2005 and retained this award every year. The slide just demonstrates the area that's the subject of the planning application, and we can see Hurst Park at this location that comes round here, and you can see the nearest residential properties, number 6 Hurst Park, and here's 23 Hurst Park, and there'll be some more photographs later on. This again just demonstrates the red edge where the application, where the equipment will be sited. The proposal forms part of plans to refurbish the playground area with a range of equipment for toddlers and juniors, but due to the height of the climbing frame, which is above 4 metres, planning permission is required. The development is on a design and build base, with experienced play equipment specialists invited to submit the design for the refurbishment, and therefore the precise location of the tower has not yet been determined. This slide demonstrates that suppliers have been guided towards a colour and design scheme that reflects the playground setting adjacent to the woodlands. This is a photograph of the playground area taken from the south-eastern entrance opposite number 6 Hurst Park, which is about 22 metres away. And then this one is taken from the property at number 23 Hurst Park, which is about 35 metres from the play area. And these 2 slides just demonstrate what's existing within the play equipment and together with the boundary fence. We've received 1 letter of representation commenting that if the structure was positioned centrally or on the western edge of the park, it is felt that this would obstruct their view of the park and would therefore raise objection. But a condition has been added requiring the details of the design and siting of the climbing frame to be submitted to the planning officers for approval. Proposal accords with the relevant planning policies and is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the imposition of conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Catherine. Okay, we have no registered speakers. We don't have any members not on committee, and we don't have the applicant or the agent. So I will now open it to committee. Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Chair. Again, I think the report sets out the conditions pretty well. I think the conditions provide some assurances for the local residents there. So I will move approval. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Adams. Councillor David Shaw.
Sorry, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, if you actually go down to the, as I'm sure many of you have, gone down to the play area, you can see that as far as a view of the park, there are actually only 2 properties that have got a view of the park across that play area. Everything else, you get a view of the park towards the play area. So the only concern, I know you don't actually have a right to a view as such as a planning matter. But so long as you avoid the little area in the corner at the Cop Lane entrance to the park by the path, you're fairly constrained in where else you can go. But if you avoid that particular bit, they shouldn't have a problem anyway. The problem is that, of course, there are two big trees on that site, which does bring it forward towards the path side. So there are limits on what you can do. But as long as the officers have got some sort of control and can negotiate siting, I would second the approval.
Thanks, Councillor Shaw. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to second the approval, but just a note really with the trees. I know we talk about trees and we like to keep them, but I sort of worry that we need to try and avoid being close to the trees as well because of the sap that comes off the tree could make the play area or that particular item of equipment a bit of a hazard, being so tall.
Thanks, Councillor Martin. Do we have Councillor Smith?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, 7 metres high is a substantial piece of equipment. I'm not sure whether I'd like to be going up there. I just wonder why we can't, at this stage, have an exact location for it, which would solve any problems of overlooking if necessary. I would have thought that was one of the first things that you'd actually look at with regard to the application, to know exactly where it was going to go.
Catherine, would you like to come back on that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I can understand where Councillor Smith is coming from, but because it's a design and build basis, and it will technically be going out to tender for play equipment specialists to submit design. So rather than hinder them to a specific design, this provides for a little bit of imagination in terms of what they might like to do. But again, they're constrained by the site height being 7 metres, and also the conditions being placed upon any planning approval, that those details will come back to us.
Okay with that, Councillor Smith? Okay, do we have any other proposals? Are there any other members on committee wishing to speak? No? Okay, well, Councillor Adams has proposed approval. It has been seconded by Councillor David Shaw. So I think we will go to the vote. Councillor Will Adams. For. Councillor Donoghue. For. Councillor Flannery. For. Councillor John Hesketh. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Martin.
For, Chair.
Councillor Christine Melia.
For.
Councillor Caroline Moon.
For.
Councillor David Shaw. For. Councillor Phil Smith. For. Councillor Barry Yates. For. I'll go back. Councillor John Hesketh.
For.
Thank you. I am also for that. Dave, the outcome of that vote was?
Yes, it's another unanimous vote, Chair. Approval with conditions.
Fantastic, lovely. Right, thanks all for attending tonight. I hope you enjoyed it more than Thursday. I certainly did. And I look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday, I think.